welcome. So it is another open read at Neat Poetry, sponsored by Neat Coffee Bar in Newport Richey. And we start out with Lex 4-5. So this one is called Nor'easter's Approach. My nose is a runny, sore, pinkish mess. My NyQuil head swims in a dizzied half-life, reminiscent of teen drug days. A 3-day nor'easter approaches the island. Winds blow cold. I struggle for words despite dim flu levels of comprehension as a subway peddler hawks dollar toys that sing London Bridge. Ashen faces of the downtown train fall lifeless. Their East Village powder-painted masks, orange-dyed hair, pierced tongues, and silent eyes scream validation through mutilation, while arcing, mirrored glasses of journal-folding Wall Streeters hint validation won't come easy, spite Armani's obsolete Rolex and clean polished nails. Still we ascend, now scurry past Rector, lest horizontal rain punishes us for sins long forgotten. So I catch the crosstown bus, more as a shelter than a mode of transportation. Odor of damp clothes fogs city bus windows. These pages stink of approaching nightmares that never come, never end, from which there's no escape. As I muse self-consciously, mock heroically, I must survive it. Wholeness lies on the other side of these broken phrases.
Really nice.
All right, so that was from Lex 4-5. And here's one of our non-local poets. So this is Laurent Yvonne Gurwitch from Buffalo, New York. And he has a poem called Empty-Bellied but Righteous in Conceit.
I love Laurent. You should.
Laurent was my first co-host on my radio show back when I first started doing it in, I think, 2019, 2020. It's called Empty-Bellied but Righteous in Conceit. Yesterday, grandfather's garden plot was declared illegal. Growing is life to Dedushka, so we denied breath to the Kohlholz Brigade, who swung limp above the fires that lit the night along the long fences of 1930 Russia. Spring mud was ours, red blood of cattle theirs, rough knives bleeding drafts into rich earth, now fallow in protest, violated by the feet of thousands who came in brigades, urging compliance, reeds bending to the gale, plows rust in unturned fields that used to coil with grain. New growth is an accident of nature which insists on old proverbs regardless of the seed, or bloodlines that starve by the millions. No flour in dusty pots, so flowers in dusty pots replace the holy grail of grain that once sang golden in the sun. Having trouble turning the page here. We wish beauty was edible, but petals are poor grist for the mill, delicate fragrance that doesn't fill a comrade's gut. Failure to heed the starving cities writhing in hunger, wasted clean by purity of dogma, quite illogical, like the bear who postpones winter's sleep and finally dreaming wakes to die with seasons turnings, empty-bellied but righteous in conceit. So he has some notes too. He says, failure of the Russian farm collective in early 20th century as government dogma resulted in the famine deaths of between 7 and 14 million souls. Dedushka means grandfather, and Kohlholz Brigade was the collective farm propaganda organizers. Okay.
You're gonna read one of yours, aren't you?
Oh, only Bernadette's. This is from Bernadette Newton, and it's called Blistered Heart. The silence splinters like wood hissing and splitting in a fire drum, your voice replaced by my sobbing soliloquies. My chest burns from the coals and embers that dissolve within. Third-degree burn blisters and serum fills the cavity between my lungs. There's no preparing for my open heart surgery. Surgeons brutally cracking my ribs and sternum, taking my rib atom, call it your own. Veins are stripped of cereal imbued blue. Blood runs clear and my lips are pasty from the tourniquet affixed to my neck. I'm hemorrhaging salt and my cheeks are bloated like a decaying carcass. With my lips pursued and trembling, without the wonderment of a newborn. You shone bright like the evening star, but like a gas lantern you were extinguished by exposure to gale-forced winds. I'm hungry. No, I'm just kidding. That was heavy. I didn't know she had the surgery like that.
Job.
She did?
I don't know. Where'd you know poetry?
Well, I'll have to talk to her about
Yeah,
that.
you'll have to ask her. She does write professional poetry.
I know
so
she
might
does.
have-
That's why I didn't know this.
Under our category of poets by other people from other places. This is by Jill Sobule from Denver. It's called Under the Disco Ball. Johnny's mom was worried. She caught him in the bathroom with a copy of GQ, the men's fall fashion issue. So she called her pastor, the respected Reverend D, who after a minute of silence said, "I'll pray for thee." Johnny's dad was absent at another men's convention for Christian men who need to learn to be better dads. Johnny's mom kept silent about her son's sin, afraid that dad would beat the holy shit out of him. Under the disco ball, another child will fall, under the spell of leather and the big kick drum. They have a scheme, they have a plan to take the children of our land and turn them into stylists or women who play golf. Let's see, this is by Christopher Delacroix. It's called The Red Rose. The rose he gave her was beauty itself, crimson red with not a petal out of place. The thorns were magnificent, symbolizing their many trials. The green of the stem was life itself. Drops of dew glistened upon the surface. The moment was magic, her world pure bliss. She looked at him, a smile wide upon her lips. And he gazed upon her beauty, he, crying and bloody, full of holes. This rose was once white, stained now with ruddy love. The dew was but his many tears. He smiled up at her, pain paramount, yet loving still. And this was the way it always was. She was a goddess upon a pedestal, while he bled and cried to make her happy. This was their relationship, the goddess and the masochist. They knew no other way. And one day she ascended, leaving him to bleed out alone.
Wow. That's heavy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'll read this. This was written about my wife at the time, almost a year to the exact
Funny, I
date
guess.
before she told me to have a nice day and she would never be able to love me again. So this is a pathetic poem that came to pass only to just re-stumbling upon this in my notes today. It was meant to be a warning. Little did I realize the warning was meant for me, not her. Even creepier, yeah.
Yeah.
And here's one, is The Art of Disappearing by Naomi Shihab Nye. And this, I think, is great advice for all of us. When they say, "Don't I know you?" say no. When they invite you to the party, remember what parties are like before answering. Someone telling you in a loud voice that they once wrote a poem, greasy sausage balls on a paper plate, then reply. If they say, "We should get together," say, "Why?" It's not that you don't love them anymore. You're just trying to remember something too important to forget, like trees, the monastery bell at twilight. Tell them you have a new project. It will never be finished. When someone recognizes you in the grocery store, nod briefly and become a cabbage. When someone you haven't seen in 10 years appears at the door, don't start singing him up with all your new songs. You will never catch up. Walk around feeling like a leaf. Know that you could tumble any second. Then decide what to do with your time.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah. And the last one is more the type of poem I've been associated with. This is by Paul Gilmartin, called Circus Love. Last call, announced the barkeep, and then their eyes did meet. Betty, the bearded lady, and Tom, the 4-inch freak. Tom lowered his voice and made a pass. "What you doing later?" Betty thought and stroked her beard and said, "Nothing, sweet potato." People pointed, jokes were made, but it fell on 4 deaf ears. Tom thrust back his tiny shoulders and ignored the painful jeers. "Betty," he said, "the world can be such a cruel, unfeeling place." She said, "I know, my little pumpkin," and kissed his tiny face. She carried him through the parking lot to the woods that lay beyond. Never before had either felt such an instant common bond. "Betty," he said, gazing down at his tiny platform shoes, "tonight I would love nothing more than to make sweet love to you." She said, "I'm a virgin." He said, "So am I." She said, "Don't you think that's weird?" He said, "Not really, I'm 4 inches tall and you got that beard." She pressed him tight against her bosom. He inhaled her perfume air. He covered her neck with tiny hickeys and stroked her facial hair. The moonlight danced off his cowboy hat. She giggled and she swayed. She undid his tiny rhinestone belt. A cricket looked away. She set him down, unzipped her dress, still tipsy from the booze, and tripped, pulling off her panties, and crushed him with her shoes. Bearded Betty never married. Her mistake took its toll. She still owns that pair of shoes, and Tom's still in her soul.
Aww. That was like
Nice.
Running Bear and Little White Dove. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
You ready?
I think you're up if you're ready.
Yep.
I'm gonna videotape this.
As opposed to that.
Yeah, that is being videotaped.
I know, but I
Okay.
like the way she reads.
You wanna
so
sit here?
I wanna practice by watching her
Okay.
video.
You want to switch these?
Sure, because I need to practice that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
I want to get this right. Your last name is Nations, yeah?
Nations, yeah, Weissman,
Nations Weissman. Okay.
you don't have to say my whole name. You can
Excuse
say Nom Dog if you want. Hold on, let me get back up here.
Alrighty. I've been entrusted to read this poem by our lovely Pam, and I feel flattered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Something so beautiful could not come from my mind, but it will come out of my lips. What work can I do when nothing is working? Who am I when no one is noticing? removing red dust, arousing the inner child to the endless fields of knowledge. Nothing in nature is stagnant. I see this as I gain understanding for the common themes of my life. This returns me back to my starting place, crushing me beneath the turning destiny's wheel, adopting new approaches for navigating through many turbulent streams of thought and emotion. Something has changed, though I cannot see it. I feel it in my core. Splitting apart the situation, I examine my inner workings, studying them objectively instead of viewing them subjectively. Gaining clarity is of the essence, vital to explode this wall of secrecy, shame, fears, and doubt. Praying to the power greater than myself to break my self-imposed chains and let me out. Illumination grows day by day, innate knowledge downloaded as truthfulness at night helps release the burden that prevent me from taking flight. Expansion is assured, clarification shines, as the way is revealed to me in time. Opening wide my heart, releasing my passion. Genuine in kindness, I wish to be an expression of love. Renewing all, I stand upon the firm soil of my unique nature, observing events for the wonder that they are, as I coax my inner child forward to become a warrior of life.
Nice.
Nice poem.
Nice read.
So much.
That was great.
Oh, is it your turn?
Before you step up, I'm gonna
Go ahead.
grab my, no, I'm just gonna grab my drink. I'm gonna grab my drink from Neat Coffee Bar here.
Yeah.
And what a fine drink it is, 5 stars.
Okay, so this is another non-local poet. This is T. Mishael from Africa, and she wrote a poem called Slumber Party. 1. Theme: gold paper origami. Dear benumbed, we're gathered tonight to unearth January, the cosmic courtyard of births. On her unraveling clouds, orange yellows, then dims, and by the time the amber irises of twilight perch softly on the night, there'll be a weaving of us at the seams. 2. Theme: blue and belligerent. A muted eclipse flees the scene of the mood board we created. Sun starstruck wedlock of supernova pairs. The reddish purple ink written from jawline to toe tips, glowing in a contrast like scarlet sunlight colliding against its own violet parasol. Theme: the green gallery. With a fling of fingers, you sprout a sage valley, a showroom of lonesome grass roots. You're a curator, kissed by a patriarch. So faint, so feathery, the forlorn hymns orchestrating in the air, constricting my universe of thoughts. I become small. Envy is a weak law. Smaller still, love is a strong flaw, where you exist as my most fatal attraction. 4. Theme: melancholia fittings. Beloved, you know that what light doesn't touch cannot melt. My guilt is at a standstill in your mural, made from the pulpy talc of my black broken dreams. I stray a bit further into their archives, scallops ridging north to south on fragile paths, each bend a gnarled puzzle of soft constellations and poetry disguised in a one-size-fits-all. All right, so here's another non-local. So this is by John Chesterton of Sydney, Australia.
We know him.
Yep, and he wrote one called Whimsy She Does. Midsummer madrigals in mountains green, out of the fire and into the rain. fair whimsy she goes, enchanted by her gypsy garden. She is the garden, principle of spaces and species. She inspires in and out and all about the popular places, her tentacles tender, hiding in shadows, biding in sun. Whimsical spectacle, I loved her. Scented paisley and primrose. The flimsy climbers and potters, spinners and weavers, inimitable nests and mischievous hoppers, choppers on wings, roots with slippers and chains, oblivious to others in their suburban lately homes. I took up her airs and graces, suspended my burdens for a myriad of idle afternoons. Flutes and claims, gum nuts and silver berries, madrigals and canticles, damsels green and slender, wildlings celebrant and tall. I lay quite still, became the bench of a dell and dingle for every song and whispered sprite. And there she was, acolyte and speckles, popping out of nowhere in apron and boots, tricycles and mysteries, muddy little liberties, gentle beasts, and gaudy dames, for stately garden gnomes to look upon, like me. And she was the priestess of it all.
Forget, is that yours or was that?
That's John Chesterton.
John Chesterton.
Yeah,
that's
one of
great.
one of my friends from Australia. He's really
Okay.
good. Yeah. Okay.
Oh. Okay. This is called Walk in the Woods. Walk in the woods, you'll be amazed. If you have a conversation with trees and bushes, they may ask you, why do you walk in circles when life plants you exactly where you need to be? Nature is the greatest teacher of how to be steadfast while moving in step with the endless changing cycles. I'm discovering the contentment of following life on its terms as I walk the great circle, allowing myself to stand still, unleashing an innovative approach within. As simple as it sounds, I know that it is me who holds the key to my new world. In order to enter the world, there are a few requirements, one of which to release the tightness of my grip, slow my pace so I don't trip, speak impeccably from my lips, and dance and sing joyously for all eternity. Thanks.
One and done?
Okay. I gotta go to all poetry now. Okay. This is the one I said would be good as a song.
Okay.
It's called Raining Down Those Tears of Love. I want to fly in the ocean. I want to swim in the trees. I want to stand tall in the mountains upon my bended knees. I want to kiss the moon all over and the universe, shower them with kisses raining down with tears of love. I want to bathe in Mother Earth's hot winds, then be cooled by Father Sky's intoxicating breath as he's raining down those tears of love. Raining down those tears of love, man, raining down those tears of love. So we just kind of go on.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway. This is called Spiritual Void. It's very short. I don't know how to make you see the many ways that you are blind when it comes to seeing me. Spinning me around the kitchen on less than 2 feet. I'm hidden within your gaze as you look through my being as if I were nothing else but a spiritual void.
Okay, we've done the good ones, now on mine. This is called 12-Step Meeting. I faced the crowd, mouth dry, legs shaking. Hi, I'm Tom, I said, palms sweating, voice quaking, and I am a poet. Hi, Tom, came the greeting. Acceptance washed over me. I haven't written in 5 days. They all applauded in unity, congratulating my sobriety. Between. I have no memory of when I was not. After I'm dead, I'll harbor no thought. The in between is all I've got.
It's true.
Yeah. And my daughter Kenzie is learning more about me than I think her sisters know. But anyway.
How you doing with that?
I was in love with a woman who died March 28th, 2008, and this is a poem in her memory.
What
It's
was
called A Year Ago,
What was her name?
Michelle Miller. It was a year ago, but it seems like yesterday, when we'd walk along the canal and I'd melt each time she'd say those 3 words, I love you. And she would kiss my cheek and all my troubles would float away like a lazy leaf drifting down the creek. There's a tendency when one has died to erase faults from one's memory, to idolize, sanitize, and revise, and reduce one to saintly sterility. I know she wasn't perfect. We all have our flaws, but I cherish and I celebrate everything she was. It was a year ago, but the memory's so clear. I see the sparkle in her eyes and feel her lips upon my ear, my beard brushing her face as I kiss her lips and chin, and in my mind I see her and wonder what might have been. She was impulsive and casually careless, aware with a tender sensitivity. She was aggressive, silly, yet submissive, the contradictions that all humans can be. She was independent but needy, longed for a sense of stability, and I like to think that for a time she found that with me. It was a year ago that we laid side by side, our naked bodies mingling with nothing left to hide. I'd watch the ripple of her muscles beneath the soft glow of candlelight, and would listen to our laughter and make love throughout the night. But then she would visit her mother, and her face would go blank and wan as her mother drunkenly snarled, cursed the world, and prattled on. Behind Michelle's eyes I could see memories of cold neglect and callow abuse, unwanted and unloved, and inconvenience of which her mother had no use. It was a year ago, the sweat upon her forehead glistened, and I recall the venom her mother spoke, but she just sat and listened. I remembered where I sat, looking at her dark curly hair. She knew the direction she must take, and that change was in the air. Michelle had faced her demons that kept her from being whole. She grappled with and conquered the darkness in her soul. So when her mother finished ranting and she was finally through, Michelle would softly tell her, "It's all right, Mom. I'll take care of you." It was a year ago, but the scene is still burned in my mind. She confronted the face of cruelty, but always decided to be kind. I think about it now as a tear fills my eye, for I realize she was a far better person than I. So here's a memory to share, here's a memory to save, of one too quickly taken to a tragic early grave. One last poem for her pleasure, a few lines to commemorate that once I knew and loved her, and for that I celebrate. Dear reader, tell the living you love them. The dead honor and fondly commemorate. For their touch upon your life, cherish and celebrate.
I love you, Dad.
That was really, yeah.
Okay, well, to lighten the mood, let's see what, okay, let's do this
I know I had to hold it back a few times.
one. This is my one of my daily experiences. It's entitled, Sisyphus Opens His Email. You may already be a winner. 100 recipes for chicken dinner. Cialis for when the time is right. Burn fat while you sleep at night. Secrets doctors don't want you to know. Real estate investment for monthly cash flow. Fox News exposes the truth behind America's trauma imposed by Kenyan communist Muslim Obama. Nigerian prince still needs your money. Scientist proves cancer cured by honey. Government giveaway of foreclosed lands. Fact about your aging and your prostate gland. Sheep placenta for youthful appearance. Save 15% on your car insurance. Receive as our gift daily Bible scriptures. Your inbox full of XXX pictures. Starving Guatemalan kittens need to be fed. Incontinence got you sweating in bed? Your credit card is pre-approved. Unwanted hair painlessly removed. Psychic reading, first 5 minutes 3. Find your match on eHarmony. 50% off brand name shoes. Russian women wants to meet yous. Send Visa number to claim your prize. Yes, you can increase your penis size. Another day wasted, another day older. I remove the messages into my spam folder and delete them knowing that in the end, tomorrow, everyone will be back again. Struggling at the moment, my epic fail, Sisyphus opens his daily email.
Wow, good one.
And this one's by Paul Thorne, Louisiana, I think, okay. It's called, I Don't Like Half the People I Love. My family reunion is going on today. My relatives have all flown in from places far away. And we sit here eating chicken, and it hits me like a truck. I blew that. Start that again. Hit me like a truck. I don't like half the people I love. God knows they're all dear to me, but if truth be told, I like it when they come, but I love it when they go. I'm sure they got good qualities, but the bad ones cover them up. I don't like half the people I love. Me and my former best friend had a big falling out. I caught him with my wife, so I punched him in the mouth. We just can't hang out anymore, but I still wish him luck. But I don't like half the people I love. My alcoholic buddies are fun to hang around. When we drink together, peace and joy abound. But sometimes they bring me one more shot when they know I've had enough. I don't like half the people I love. In this world we live in, this I guarantee, we all need more tolerance to get along peacefully. But I'm not as nice as Jesus, and I really get fed up because I don't like half the people I love.
Nice.
Paul Thorne.
Okay, so our host, Wayne Scott, mentioned my name to the Newport Richey Library, and of course I had my nonfiction books ready, but I didn't have a book of fiction ready, so I went ahead and had a printing done. So I titled it Voices of the Dark and Other Short Fiction, and Voices of the Dark I picked for the cool title. And in 1991, I wrote Voices of the Dark, and I am looking for the title poem. Here it is. Okay, so, and here's a definition or an explanation of what is Voices of the Dark. It's a direct refutation of the law of attraction's cult of positivity, also known as spiritual bypass, and posits that acceptance and articulation of Jungian shadow diffuses shadow's destructive power. So the title poem, Voices of the Dark. The voices are shattered from dark and dismay, muttering hopelessly, their souls gone astray. With knowledge too bright to mimic their way, he drinks from love's light, transforms feet of clay. But the voices shriek deathlessly in tormented pleas. From soft white light mercy, wipe clean our disease. Nods from love's smile, his pathway is clear. With aid of its strength, there's nothing to fear. Embracing its essence, their life paths depart. He submerges mid-blackness with white in his heart, and Godhead has blessed him with eyes of winged vision, so he wanders dark labyrinths without indecision. Scent of gray rotting corpses, seeing children scream, inhaling the agony as he flies through their dream. Drifting through nightmares, mastering shadow's way, dark voices glean truth in all he doth say. And Godhead has blessed him with eyes of winged vision, so he wanders dark labyrinths without indecision. Shared bliss abandoned, he illumines night's way. Though paradise is forsaken, he'll reclaim it someday. And mid-transcendent redemption of that fateful clear morn, new heaven, new earth, and new Jerusalem will be born. So that poem is,
Hey, I like that.
that poem is about the Bodhisattva. In Buddhism, the Bodhisattva is the person who, out of compassion, delays attainment of nirvana in order to save suffering beings. And, Tom, in your honor, I've got
Oh boy.
a comedy. I've got
Yeah.
a funny one.
You've got to find this.
So, it's all a matter of finding it.
So
Yeah, here it is. Okay, so this one is called White Light Peddlers. Doling out enlightenment from a dropper, crystal clear, drinking liquid LSD for listening to rockers dear. And Yahweh must have missed it when man called sweet Leslie sin. So we caused ourselves to right the wrong God's holy peddlers in. But the Blues Brothers came a-trollin' with their read-em righteous pleas, till our fingers start a-printin' as we's quarantined like disease, and electric eyeballs rollin', hissin' back and forth, blue-black bars set to south, infectious toilets north, and me and Rumi whisperin' our Leslie peddler's lore of white light Godhead mysteries sold in our general store. Still me and Rumi careful, just in case we're bugs, besides all this talk's too holy to be busted up as drugs. Okay, so let's do one more. Okay, we'll move into something else. Oh, this one. Okay, this one's kind of dark. A little bit long, but very powerful. Okay, so this one is an excerpt from Generations, which was a novel in the tradition of magical realism that I wrote in 2016. And in this portion, this excerpt, our protagonist is walking the pre-dawn streets of 1915 Whitechapel. Rose Cohen, the protagonist, and Esther, who is Rose's cat, are haunted by 27-year-old visions of Annie Chapman and Jack the Ripper. And 29 Hanbury Street, which is the title of this excerpt, is the actual site of the 1888 murder of Annie Chapman by Jack the
Is
Ripper.
this the one
This is 29
This is the
Hanbury
one?
Street.
that I told you to change something and then you did?
Yes.
Okay. I'll roll it
Okay, so 29 Hanbury Street.
again.
At Brick Lane, the woman's sickly, rattling breath strengthened, along with clack, clack of her heels on cobblestones. Making the right onto Hanbury, the Black Eagle Brewery's clock struck the half hour. All bells have been silenced since 1914. Am I dreaming? And this iron stench of blood overtook that of horse shit, cat's meat, dirty clothes, and rotten produce, filling both nostrils, then mouth, till I nearly gagged, as the woman's desperate thoughts ran through. Cold for September, October, November, Christmas is coming. Happy bloody Christmas. It'll be John's second year dead from the drink, and the bastard left me with nothing, now did he? Her rattling breath closer, closer, almost at my prickled ears as she continued. I must pull myself together and go out and get some money, or I shall have no lodgings. Esther's body arched, her cold fur bristling against me. Cloaking fear and anger, I upbraided, "You dragged us here." Now the rattling was so close, I could smell the stale pint off her breath as she said, "I won't be long, Brummy. See that Tim keeps the bed for me." Each of her ghosted phrases shivered me darker. I bit at my forefinger's cuticle while silently praying, "Make it stop." But my words triggered memories of Zadie's admonition. The only way out is through. Deepening my breathing, the shivering weakened, then stopped. And here in the shadowy depth, the pre-dawn stillness, before the soot-stained 3-floor brick building with numbers 29 plaqued above its dilapidated wooden entry door, blacked out street lamps morphed to dim, flickering greenish-yellow town gas as her ghosted image came real. She had a large, flat nose with 2 lower teeth missing. She was nearly as pale as Auntie in Holloway Prison, and shorter even than Mummy. She seemed older than either of them, but slightly younger than Bubba, and taller and heavier than all three. Her pale blue eyes and dark brown, interspersed with gray, wavy hair, cascaded gently into a dirty, threadbare Victorian black coat, draping down to cover much of her red and white striped woolen stockings as they transitioned to old, dirt-stained, laced-up boots, all quite common when Bubba was a girl. Electric shivery trembling revived as this relatively tall, thin figure approached her, his back to us. The face was cloaked by a dark brown peaked hat angled down towards his black, knee-length cutaway coat with large black bag draped over shoulder as he asked, "Will you?" Her intuition blinded by hunger, sleepless desperation, she answered yes. I looked to Esther's terror-reflected eyes. We both read murder, even before he fantasized caressing the middle-aged Curva's chubby chin, while red-tinged hands slit her throat from right to left, causing the blood to cleanly spurt clear of him, then supporting her wilting body from behind, so his reflection was shielded from capturing retinas of her dying eyes as he stealthily eases her to the coal-blackened street. His pulse fluttered from visions of raising her legs so the laced-up boots rested firm on the ground, her knees turned outward. My guts churned at the scene till the taste of vomit overtook the blood-iron scent, and still the vision continues. His pupils dilated with arousal, cut into her ruined vaginal cavity, pulling the compromised tissue clear without disturbing either the toxic vesicouterine, his nose crinkled in disgust, or putrid rectouterine pouches. Perfect. Continuing between anterior and posterior phonic cervix, now cutting above to cleanly extract the wasted uterus. Done. He bit at lower lip while envisioning drawing steamy intestines up and over the Curva's shoulder. As he placed them onto Hanbury's dirty cobblestones, her lifeless feature morphed to his screaming, demon-faced mum, knickers round the ankles. Her streaming urine shriveled him to an impotent, prepubescent boy. Shaking his head clear of her memory, he winced, Gonna piss on me now, eh? Then imagine pulling a small glass jar out from the black bag while smiling irreverently. Preserve us, O Lord, like jam in a jar. He'd drop and seal her wound trophy into his glass container, then carefully wrap the jar in his blood-stained cutaway coat and push it deep into the bag's hidden folds. Finally, swinging the bag over shoulder, he'd cheerily sing, "Farewell and adieu to you, Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu to you, ladies of Spain, for we have received orders to sail to old England, and we may never see you fair ladies again," while sauntering towards safety of those dimly lit late Victorian alleyways.
Ooh.
Spooky one, right?
Too much like my real life.
We just watched the Boston Strangler yesterday, too.
All right. That was hard. Okay. They hate because they fear. They hate because they fear. Segregated days turn to months, months turn to years, all while living within a structure built upon lies. They torture others due to their lack. If one turns the other cheek, it's seen as weakness for which they also attack. Told how to think, what to believe, salvation can't be found if boots force others to their knees. Wrap your way around my truth, allow me to swim within your vast sea. It takes nothing away from you, nor does it take anything away from me. Hand in hand, respect, tolerance, equality of all. Anything less than this is nothing more than a monster who forces kindred brothers and sisters to crawl. That's what I got to say about that.
You got another one?
Do I?
Yeah.
Got a lot of them. I just don't want to be a hog.
You're not.
No.
This is called The Shadow of the Crow. In the shadow of the crow, mysteries unknown, left without a clue or just what I think of you. My heart cannot keep track of the love you pissed away. I have been a fool. If I had stayed, now maybe the joke's on you. Forced to live in the shadow of the crow, darkness my only friend, living in annihilation until Messenger Hawk finds me once again. Thank you. This is called Dubbed the Unforgiven. Torn apart from her only one, locked up, strapped down, the past has finally taken her down. Rape during detox, cover-ups and lies, cast a spotlight elsewhere. She's insane and ignore her cries. Blame her husband for the bogus crime, keep them apart, should buy us ample time. Accusations of drugging his one true love, telling him they have it all on tape. Post a guard outside her door, she can never tell him she was raped. By the time she's transferred, it won't be our problem anymore. Let it be the next hospital's problem. Let them settle this inconvenient score. So she couldn't understand what happened to her loving man. Where had he gone? Why was he not visiting? She needed desperately to tell him of the deed. Strapped down and crying, day and night she'd plead. Most husbands leave their wives when the alcohol abuse begins. He's left you for certain, you pathetic, pitiful little friend. So she did the only thing she could. She dubbed him Unforgiven. Months and years went by. They couldn't find their way back into each other's arms again. Love will most definitely be lost if our hearts can't melt the frost. He was violated in his way, and I in mine, searching for each other through unbearable grief, obscured visions within deep, dense fog. Once lifting, clearing, transcending, the truth was finally revealed. Violation, cover-ups, firings, layoff, transfers, and promotions. They carefully covered their tracks while ripping both our hearts out through the bones within our backs. Now embracing all we are, all we have been, healing our traumatic wounds after we were violently dubbed the Unforgiven. I didn't know it was that one.
Wow. Wow.
So,
You got some?
yeah, I have two more non-locals. Okay, So this first one is Eric Daniel Herman, a poet in Alaska. It is called These Mountains Echo, the last Kalahari Bushman song. These mountains echo the last Kalahari Bushman song, a shaman story on the birth of art and consciousness. Rhythmically I moved, stomping a circular dance, clapping my hands and slapping my thighs, clicking my tongue and chanting low humming tones, slipping in and out of a hologram, dissolving trance with a forceful energy inexplicably electric within me, considering my 5-day fast proceeding only broken by rubbing Hudai cactus gel on my gums and chewing on buku leaves. Ti ikats ta not equal to na, not equal to gal. I took flight in the camel thorn bonfire smoke, rising out from the cauldron of boiling noro noro tea, drawn from root bulbs of the Fera glutinosa flowering stems, and with a thick layer of eland and kudu fat smeared on my forehead, forearms, and shins, I soared above the dunes of the Kalahari Desert, my closed eyes mesmerized by the yellow devil thorn flowers melting into honeycomb shapes, geometric chevrons and vortices. Gai Daubo Jare. After a dozen hours, the ravenous fire within my belly began to smolder into a dying ember, and my flight traversing realms of the dead and unborn, animal, alien, half-human, and all life forms in between, began descending before landing in a narrow tunnel within the Drakensberg Mountains, where my transformation into an herbal medicine man was complete. In that cradle of mankind, reborn, I came to be an interdimensional, shape-shifting shaman eternally. Gugawa Agetsatsi, not equal to Aosa Tamaha. Painted rock face cave walls retell my origin story, paired with the transcendent ability to share and pass down intergenerational history using the vast vices of art. Those mountains echo the birth of consciousness, a cyclical fairy tale of suffering known as the human condition.
Who's that from again, please?
Eric Daniel Herman. He's a poet I know in Alaska.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Yep. And lastly, I have Stephen Vizentainer from New York City. And he wrote this one called Paint Her Dirty Fruit. A painting, Times Square, late 1970s. There are exorcisms needed there that never were. And the sight of those that needed cleansing captured the eye as an avalanche would hit a valley. Yet there was also a wonder to it all. Like a virgin's first peek, or a boy's fingers curled to his lips while attempting to hide his devilish grin. Lay it out after the sketch. I ground the canvas with a color of red light scum, a vulgar rogue, and a seamy green to show it all went to seed. This one will be alla prima, coated superfly, blending her Chirocsuko tricks and their foul honeycomb in shades of obscenity, the flash of her racy gleams, the light of her electricity, the hours of her godless cries. His orgasms scattered in a bloom of rasp ejaculation. My memory visions it colors flat, matted porn, felt like with a show. The sweat, her fluid, the litter, her legs, the cigarette smoke, her daddy's hoo-was, her all-day carnival underneath the bulbs adorned. My eyes dream her a naughty 40-second topless scat, dazzling, bewitching with an erotic glow, stroked to the natives, her winos, the deranged, her motley expressions, the concrete bitter, her asphalt sewer, her strange, farcical abreast the wild that was grown, narrate an obscene spinning enchantment. A world different, palate the tourists, their purses, her stoned, her slashed, her perverted zoo. Color them all carnal, below the motif marquise in triple X steps and lewd leans, her inducing rush to the grindhouse of her dirty seed, her saints blush, tint her lust, and paint her dirty fruit, wet on wet, and brushed to her madcap tableau, her cosmopolitan, mythic phantasm. No one will publicly purchase this again. Her memory pricks me. Let this one gallery tone. All right.
That's that.
All right, I can close this off.
One more.
Oh yeah, we got this. This is from King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and it is weird. Get ready. It's called Hantai Yumi, the Confused Cyborg. Impertinent and ignorant, deathless and restless, cold contrite cowards, digitized satellite, augmented entities, unremembered God. The world fades to black, digital black. Welcome to an altered future. Whoop. And it's in a bunch of different parts, so kind of give me a second to... Whoop. Hello, my name is Hantai Yumi. I am a cyborg, born, if you may call it that, in a world that is dense and black, created without a desire to draw breath, without a desire to have being, without a yearning just to be. I'd like my desire back, my life back, my soul back, my humanity. Oh, how I long for it. For an era I have meditated, like the primordial Buddha beneath the body, my pseudo-mind pseudo-wandered. I climbed and I clambered and I ambled upon some understanding, the gold beneath the virtual rainbow. I am bereft of two human things, two things that a cyborg can never do, two things that I strive for, two things between myself and mankind, death and to vomit. I want the perspiration, I want the nausea, I want to be sick, I want to feel the hot piquant nuggets, I wanted to find passage through my cold figure, I want to make a mess, I want the odor, I want the spectacle, and I want it again, I want it all. And I would like to die, a noble death, or a coward's death, a hero's death, or a lonely death, to die in the arms of a lover, or in the arms of an alien. I desire my cache of experience to pulsate through my quasi-synapses, and then to be gone, expired, perished, fallen, dead, forevermore. So I built a machine, a human machine. I made it with steel and soy protein, born from a test tube and into a vat, to live and to heave and to die just like that. And when I declared to my design, like Frankenstein's monster, I am your father, I am your God, and you the magic that I conjure. The thankless swine, the blasphemous jerk, my creature had no love for me, which made me berserk. So I took over my creation, the spew-coated protein, and I plugged myself in and became one with machine. The spatter becomes a spray, the spray becomes a stream, and the stream becomes a waterfall. Munt is finally cascading from my input. The creeping sick moves from my breath and into my heart where it is pumped to every inch of my body. I feel it snake through the knots of my deepest veins and eat through the walls of my cells. It bleeds through the pores of my skin, and it smells good. It drops from my crotch onto the floor, and with a heavy slap it hits the ground and spreads. Inside my body, the pressure is too great, and like some ancient geyser, I erupt. My head hits the roof, and my body breaks apart with the force of the liquid blast. Vomit bomb. Chunky shrapnel tears through everything around me. I am vomiting. I grow and disperse. Bleeding through walls, I force myself upon others. I slide up legs and crawl down throats. I integrate. I am double, triple. I am 10 times the size. I turn lakes into porridge and buildings into bile. I am a noxious soup filling valleys with vomit torrents. Castles crumble and landslides, and I munch the rubble. It tastes good. 10,000 times bigger. I seep into power sockets and travel along the wires at the speed of light across vast electrical networks. I am electric. I am on fire. This is sex. I am every one and every zero. 1 million. I am supercharged, flaming puke storming every cell, molecule, and atom I can find. I am cancer. I am flying. I am a rainbow unfurling across the sky. I am floating. I am omni. 500 million. The world is my interior. It no longer spins. It is altered. My density forces me outward. I am in orbit. 1 billion. I am Saturn's rings and Jupiter's storms. I am the weather. I am the sun's heat. I am the night sky. 500 billion. The solar system is puke. To the Kuiper belt and beyond I fill the void. Exploding suns vomit comets. Comets vomit acid rain. Spilt milk over the Milky Way. 1 trillion. The stars are my cells, racing faster outwards, upwards, downwards, inwards. Losing track of my place in the vomit verse. Every nowhere. I am heavy. I am gravity. Nebulas pregnant with barf pulsate and burst. Expansion. I shoot arrows of time in all directions. I am a black hole shitting into the void. I tear through the skin of perception and into the next. Non-alien. The cosmic microtone background becomes transparent. Like rising damp, Munt soaks into the walls of the cosmos and it topples like soggy bread. I am dark energy accelerating. Multiverse entanglement. I am time. Centillion. Time is sick. Critical density. Contraction. Singularity. Everything and nothing. Life and death. Murder of the universe.
Woo.
Woo!
Nice.
Nice close.
Yeah. I think that Genesis chapter 1, verse 5